Alright, today is November 4th, and actually I just got done hunting, but I'm gonna do the pre-game intro now, just because I wasn't able to at all. As soon as I got in the tree and got my bow up, I was immediately in deer, so I wasn't even able to talk to the camera the entire hunt this evening. So I'm gonna do the pre-game now. Just a kind of little backstory on this spot. I found it last spring when I was shed hunting. It's like a select cut that might be like 3 years old or something. I hiked around it quite a bit, and there was just never much buck sign at all, so I haven't paid much attention to it. But I've been hunting the area quite a bit, and I would drive by that select cut, and this was like mid-October, probably October 24th or 22nd. I put a few hunts in this vicinity, and I ended up driving by that cut twice, and both times there was does going into that cut. So that's something I always really pay attention to, no matter if I'm driving right after dark or going to my spot or anytime. If it's public ground and I see deer, I mark it and keep it in my head. And especially, getting into that mid to late October time frame, you find where the does are, that's going to end up being where the bucks will be in a week or 2 weeks during the rut. So that's exactly what we had happen here. Like I said, I was seeing those does go into the select cut. So one of those days about midday, I think it was October 25th, I just wanted to go in there and just kind of see what was going on. I ended up walking through that select cut and got to this like north facing point, jumped 10 does. And anybody that hunts the mountains knows that 10 does in a group is like unheard of. That's a lot of does. So that immediately caught my eye. So I ended up jumping them and going right into where they were laying, and there was just a ton of doe sign, just a lot of scat and where they're feeding on the browse, and they were bedded there midday. So I'm like, all right, I just found their bedding and their food. These does are spending a lot of time right here. So I went downwind. In this area the dominant winds are west, southwest, south wind. So I just went on the north side of where those does were bedding, which is the downwind side, and I made a mock scrape. And today is November 4th, and it's so hot. It's been so hot this week, and just midday I just haven't been seeing deer. So I was like, I'm gonna go check that camera and see what's going on. So there's a road that takes you up to the cut, and it's only a 200-yard walk from the road to my camera, but you got to go through the cut and through the top of the hill. And I was like, I might jump deer. I'm gonna take it really, really slow. So this was like today, I don't know, around noon. I'm walking through the cut, and right where those does were bedded before, I see them one jump up, and I'm like, I'm not going any farther. Gave it a half hour and let them kind of calm down, and I snuck out of there. I always try to come in through the bottom, especially when I'm hunting, even checking cameras. But it's a mile walk from the bottom to get in there, or a 200-yard walk, and I just wanted to check the camera. So I backed out. I was like, I'm coming in here to hunt it. It's November 4th. There's all these does. There has to be a buck in here. So now I'm gonna throw you into the action. Immediately had a nice buck with a doe come in, and I ended up seeing 11 deer. So I really hope you enjoy this video, because this was one of the coolest bow hunts I've ever been on. Just so beautiful. The amount of game I saw, bucks and does I saw, and watching turkeys roost behind me, and then just a beautiful sunset. It was just a really, really awesome experience. Glad I got it all on video. So enjoy the hunt. So now it's the post game. I'll kind of talk about the hunt a little bit. So yeah, as soon as I got in the tree, I didn't even get a chance to do the intro yet. Immediately see that nice buck walking in. So I know the area well, and I'm guessing that's probably a 3.5-year-old buck. Just the way he was acting, his body size, you know, he didn't have the biggest rack, but, you know, he was grunting, snort wheezing, and he was pretty wide, had some broken tines. So just in my experience of hunting here, that's more than likely a 3.5-year-old buck, maybe 2.5, but I'm leaning towards 3.5. He comes into 30 yards, he's with that doe, and they're just feeding around, and he won't let that doe get away or anything. The doe kind of drifts off to my left, and he ends up coming into about 25, and that's where I missed him. He didn't even know what happened, and he didn't want to leave that doe. He kind of milled off a little bit, and then that other buck came in. He was a 10-point. He was actually chasing a doe above me. I didn't get that on video. He came down to the big buck, and I thought for sure they were going to fight, but they didn't. The 10-point kind of came off to my right. He ended up bedding down at 25 yards in front of me. He was just a little small. He's a nice buck, but not something I wanted to shoot this year. Then I had 2 yearling does come out of the right. They were feeding beside me. Big buck was to my left with his doe over there. And then another mature doe came out to my right. This buck still bedded in front of me. And then the bigger buck came into about 20 yards, but he was in that thick stuff. Almost had 2 opportunities at him when he came into 20 yards twice. Couldn't get a shot off just because it was too thick. The 2 little yearlings for some reason go running down the hill, and then the 10-point comes right to the base of my tree trying to chase him. He looks up and sees me and kind of bounds off, and then makes a loop around and goes and chases those does. And then the mature doe's still standing there. And then 5 more does or 4 more does come out of that same spot. So I'm just absolutely surrounded. And then this big buck is to my left the whole time at 30 yards, 35 yards, and just watching everything, and I'm watching. He's just standing there. His doe's feeding. And then everything's just kind of stand still. You know, nothing's happening. I hear something come behind me. Ended up being like 25, 30 turkeys. They start roosting right behind me. And me and this big buck are sitting there watching turkeys roost together. And then the sun sets, and it's the most beautiful, like, rosy red sunset. It was just such a great evening. I know I missed. I don't even care. That was why I bow hunt. That's why I love this stuff. Like, just love nature, being out there. And that was just like, that made my season. Like, that hunt alone just like made my season, regardless if I get a buck or not. That was such a sweet hunt, and just really reminded me why I'm out here doing this. So hopefully more hunting videos on the way. I'm gonna be back in there tomorrow morning. I just left all my stuff in there. I ended up checking that camera. There's quite a few bucks coming through there, it seems like every day. So I'm super excited to get back in there. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. I've had a few people ask me about merch and stuff, if I have it. Yes, I do. I just keep forgetting to plug it in the end of the videos. So if you want to get a shirt or a hat, I have patches now. What else do I got? Stickers and stuff. I don't know. I really appreciate anybody that buys anything. Helps me out a ton. So if you want to buy some merch, hit this link up here, old video. And if you want to subscribe here, or hit the little thing below it, the video, I guess. So thank you guys once again. Catch you on the next one.